Apple iPhone 16 Pro Max. I'm going to show you how to remove the battery on this device and every little things that you need to do in order to do it safely. This is the tool that I'm going to use in order to remove all the screws on this iPhone 16 Pro Max. The first thing to do is to remove the screws at the bottom of the device near the charging port. Here are the screws that are removed. They still have the plastic for water resistance. Before we can access the internals of this device, we need to hit the back glass, then use a suction cup in order to proceed in the removal of the back glass of this iPhone 16 Pro Max. I hit it in a circular motion, but with emphasis on the bottom of the device, since this is the area that I'm going to open first. If you've done it right at the first go with a suction cup, you will see that the back glass is going to be separated from the frame of the device. So this is good enough for you to insert a guitar pick between the back glass and the frame of the device. Next, you can start moving the guitar pick right and left in order to separate the back glass from the frame. So when I was done with the bottom of the device, I hit it the left and right side of this iPhone 16 Pro Max, and then I proceeded with the guitar pick going right and left and making sure that I separate the back glass from the frame. Once again, while doing this, if the guitar pick starts to get difficult to move, you can reheat the area that you're going to work next and continue with the guitar pick. As for me, currently on the right side of the device where you have the buttons, you can see there is a cable that you do not want to touch because it is going to create a lot of problems if you damage that cable. So on the side where you have the volume buttons, make sure that the guitar pick that you insert is not inserted all the way, only the tip of the guitar pick in order to avoid touching that cable. The first step is done, removing the back glass without any crack or damage. Next, I'm going to remove the screws that are holding the retaining plate covering all the flex cables that are connected to the motherboard. After that has been done, I can disconnect the battery cable and start working on the battery. So while trying to remove the retaining plate, I noticed that all of them have some kind of latching mechanism at one end of the retaining plate. So if you're having difficulty removing the retaining plate, make sure that you're careful and patient and try to find the right angle in order to remove that small latching mechanism that is going to let the retaining plate go out. Now it is time to remove the battery cable, which is going to cut all the power flowing through the motherboard and all the components of this iPhone 16 Pro Max. Removing the battery cable should be done with your finger or a plastic tool to avoid any shorts or any type of short circuit damage to your device. Also, it is recommended to turn the device off before you disconnect the battery cable. This is good practice way to do this. Next, for any other flex cables, you can use a metal tool to disconnect them, starting with the flex cable of the wireless coil, external microphone, and flashlight. Again, a separate video for the back glass disassembly, how to replace the back glass of this iPhone 16 Pro Max, is going to be on the channel. So for the battery, you need to have access to the pull tabs. These are the ones at the bottom, the three white stuff that you see. But in order to have full access to these pull tabs, you need to remove the component that you see at the bottom. I have already done a video on the iPhone 16 with their new battery removal process. I think it is a lot easier than the one that you're gonna see on this one. So number one, disconnect this cable from the motherboard that goes above the battery on the right side of the device, and then you need to remove all the screws at the bottom. Make sure that you keep track of what screw go where. Next, you will need to remove this plastic separating the component at the bottom and the battery. So once that has been done, you can remove the loudspeaker. It is contact based, there is no cable for it. So I initially thought that I could do it without removing this cable all the way, but it is not going to work and it might damage the cable if I leave it that way. So this is why I removed the screw holding the cable on the right side. This cable goes all the way to the bottom of the device with two connector flex cable at the bottom. You need to disconnect those before you can simply lift all the way the cable to the position I have it right now. After that has been done, you will see one screw holding the Taptic engine. You need to remove that in order to lift the Taptic engine from its position. So basically you need to do all this before you can start actually working on the battery. You need to undo the pull tab at the bottom first. After you have undone the pull tab, you will need a tweezer or something to hold, to have a strong grip on the pull tab and start pulling in order to remove the double-sided tape on the back of the battery. So for this one, it didn't go really well. It was a complete waste. I tried everything in order to reattach the pull tab and pull, but it wasn't working. So with these pull tab systems, this is something that can happen to you on the first pull tab, the second, and the third. So I believe the second one I was able to pull a little bit, but it wasn't everything that I pulled. So I moved on the third one that I'm doing right now. So this is exactly how it should be for the second one, but as you saw it, it wasn't this way. And I still have some pulling to do, it wasn't completely done. So once everything is out, you will see that you will not hear anything and a long pull tab is gonna be out of the back of the battery. So I successfully removed one. The second one is halfway removed. The third one is still intact, maybe 1/4 removed. So at this point there is nothing to pull. The only thing that you have left to do is to use alcohol and force in order to remove the battery. So I tried force first without the alcohol, but it wasn't working. So I'm going to add some alcohol and it should work. You do not need much, just a few drops of alcohol at the bottom of the device on the back of the battery. Make sure that the alcohol is going where you want it to go and touch the second double-sided tape and also touch the first one. So right after this, I waited 1 minute, 1 to 2 minutes, and then I used my tool in order to have a little bit of force on the area where the double-sided tape is no longer inserted, and then I started pulling with my finger. So as you can see with the alcohol, it got a lot easier to remove the battery out of these 16 Pro Max. If you use a metal tool like the one that I'm using in order to pull the battery out, make sure that it is a flat metal tool, not sharp, and it cannot puncture or damage the battery. The battery is energy stored. If you puncture it, the energy is gonna burst in form of fire. For the reinstallation, I do not have new double-sided tape. I use the one that were in good condition on the back of this battery. And this is how I'm going to do it for this one until I get new double-sided tape for the 16 Pro Max. And as you just saw it, the battery is still being held strongly on the back of the frame after I reused the double-sided tape that was inside. For the placement of the battery, make sure that you align the cable for the battery before you start applying pressure on the battery to be held inside the device. So I had reinstalled everything in reverse order with the component that I removed at the bottom. Then I finished with the cable that goes above the battery on the right. If you're unable to connect that cable to the motherboard, make sure that you insert the screw first. After inserting the screw, I was able to connect the cable without any struggle. So here again, I connected all the cables, then connected the cable coming from the back glass. I added all the retaining plates, all the screws, and I blew some air on the cameras and camera lenses, making sure that everything is clear on that part. Then I added B7000 on top of the double-sided tape that is still inside the device. And after doing that, make sure that there is no hairline B7000 going across the camera modules. Then you can close the device. So make sure that you apply pressure all around the device, starting with the top, then the bottom, then you do the middle of the device. So after replacing the battery on the new iPhone 16 Pro Max, you should have some notification having the battery is not genuine. After that, you can do something called part pairing that comes with iOS 18. It is going to reconnect everything new that was added to the device and sync it with the motherboard, making sure that everything is working without any issues. So this is something very good. If the part is genuine, it is going to reconnect it to the motherboard and the device will not feel like there is something wrong with the device. Essentially, they are fixing something that we have been complaining about for years now. When I did my iPhone 12 mini screen replacement and battery replacement, I had those notifications. So currently with the iOS 18, those notifications will go away because I can repair those parts with the device, and it is going to date the date where I paired the device. It is going to stay inside the device, but you will see it as genuine part. But if the parts are not genuine, I'm not sure that they are going to pair it with the motherboard and work as genuine part. At least we can say that we have won something after being complaining for years. This is something good. At least all genuine parts are going to work normally without any restrictions. After using B7000, you're going to see some spill like the one that you see on the screen now. To remove them, you simply need to grab a cloth and start rubbing on the B7000 on the back of the device, and everything will go away. As always, subscribe, like and share, and I will see you on my next video.